Out enjoying the 60-degree weather, I see. You're out enjoying the 60-degree weather, I see. When you start bringing it out, then that's April. Yeah, we used to do waste every year. We get excited about it. In March, wetsuits, go diving in, then we wait 2 months. We get excited, you know.
You really improved. It's what divided by what?
Yeah, exactly. You know, give me 50%. What is that?
Oh, no. Oh,
We guess I better get myself all set up here.
Just in time.
Okay, everybody, it's that time. Welcome. We're going to call the meeting to order. I'd ask the council and anyone that speaks, please make sure you're speaking into the microphone, particularly if you're at the podium. I've had several people who watch from home say they can't hear us very well unless we're speaking into our microphones. So, in the most gentle and polite way possible, if you see me do this, please remember to speak and turn on your microphone if it's not already on. Okay. We've just called the meeting to order. We have an invocation by Mr. Joe Sukra. Joe, would you please approach?
Just an encouragement from Psalms where it says, I will exalt you, my God the King. I will praise your name forever and ever. Every day I will praise you and extol your name forever and ever. Great is the Lord and most worthy of praise. His greatness no one can fathom. God, is this greatness of who you are that we call upon tonight. Thank you, God, that we have the privilege of living where we do. Many of us here would say this is the greatest place in America. And God, I thank you for allowing us to be alive at this time and in this place. And God, for the wonderful things that you have for us. God, I want to especially thank you for such a beautiful day and a beautiful week, and already seeing spring flowers that are starting to bloom. It's incredible, God. The changing of seasons, the melting of the snow. So God, I just pray for this meeting tonight. God, that you would just pour out your spirit of wisdom to each council person and the decisions that are to be made. I just pray that whatever questions are asked tonight would be the right questions, and the answers that are given would be the right answers. And God, you would lead our mayor and each council person and all those involved tonight, that your will would be done, that this community would be a community that looks to you for its strength, for its leadership and guidance, for the health and well-being of each of its members. We ask this all in Jesus' name, amen.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you, Mr. Sukra. That's the second time you've been with us in the past month, and we appreciate you being here. Okay, we have a roll call, please.
Here.
Trial, here. Bowles,
Here.
Lucas,
Here.
Gary,
Here.
Collins,
Here.
Baker,
Here.
Woods.
Here.
Okay, thank you. Ms. Seck, to my right here tonight, is filling in and representing the city attorney's office, for those of you that might have been wondering. Mr. Wade is out tonight. A current copy of the Open Meetings Act of Nebraska is posted on the wall at the back of the council chambers. Meeting procedure. The public may address specific agenda items at the pleasure of the mayor. If recognized by the mayor, please identify yourself by stating your name and address. Please address the council through the mayor and limit remarks to 3 minutes or less. We respect our city employees and request that any complaints or criticisms of employees not be aired in a public meeting. Concerns about employees should be brought to the attention of the city administrator or the mayor. Individuals in violation will be declared out of order and asked to leave. We have a consent agenda. And this is kind of long, so I'm going to breathe a couple times as I go through this, just be advised. All matters under consent agenda are considered by the city council to be routine and will be enacted in one motion. Any city council member may, however, remove an item from consent by request. Number 1, approve minutes of the February 16th and 18th, 2021. Okay. Number 2, approve application by Aiden Enterprises, LLC, DBA Sutherland Longhorn Bar for a special designated license on April 9, 2021 from 3 p.m. to 12 a.m. at the DNN Event Center, 501 East Walker Road for the Ducks Unlimited Banquet. Number 3, approve application by Nebraska Land Days, Inc. for a special designated license on July 24, 2021 from 9 a.m. to 1 a.m. and July 25th, 2021 from 9 a.m. to 6 p.m. at the DNN Event Center, 501 East Walker Road for a USA boxing event. Number 4, approve application by Nebraska Land Days, Inc. for a special designated license on October 8th, 2021 from 4 p.m. to 1 a.m., October 9, 2021 from 9 a.m. to 1 a.m., and October 10th, 2021 from 9 a.m. to 6 p.m. at the D&N Event Center, 501 East Walker Road, for a cornhole tournament. Send application of Nissan Hospitality, Inc., DBA Canteen Bar and Grill for a Class C liquor license, beer, wine, and distilled spirits on and off sale located at 2102 South Jeffers Street to the Nebraska Liquor Control Commission with no recommendation. Number 6, authorize the mayor to execute the purchase agreement for a 2021 Ford Police SUV Interceptor from Anderson Auto Group in Lincoln, Nebraska, and execute the agreements for the necessary equipment for the vehicle for the police department. Number 7, authorize the mayor to execute the purchase agreement for a 2021 Dodge four-wheel drive pickup from Jansen Chrysler for the water department. You would like to pull down number 6, is that correct? Okay. Do we have a motion regarding the others?
I would move, I would move to approve the consent agenda items 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and 7.
Okay, calling the question, please vote. Mr. Nisley and Mr. Woods. Okay. Okay. Items 1 through 5 and 7 have passed. Mr. Carmen, you have the floor on number 6.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I'm just wondering, it's probably no big deal, but did we have any bidders from in North Platte on that? Steve? We had no bids from in North Platte?
I can take this one, Mayor
Go ahead.
Carter, Councilman Carmen. We publicly advertised the purchase of this car twice. The first time we received no bids, and the second time we received one bid. The state lets a contract for these vehicles, and their commodity pricing must be such that the local dealers could not compete with that price. Anderson Ford has the state contract. They were the only bidder the second round, and they were $1,200 higher than the state contract price.
Thank you, Mr. Gibbon. That's all I had.
Anyone else?
Yes.
Ms. Tryon, go ahead.
I would like to ask, I'm sorry, I forgot what your rank is. I'll call you Mr. Reeves. How's that? Okay. We talked on the phone today, and he did give me some information about this, and I appreciate that very much, but I think I have one more question that I didn't think to ask you about, and that is if, I know we're also paying an extra, what, $7,000, $8,000 or so for this, for the extra items that we have to add to the vehicle. Was there any possibility of being able to negotiate with the insurance company to maybe take them out of the wrecked unit and put them into the new unit? Was that even considered, or?
Mayor Kelleher, members of the city council, the car that was involved in the accident, the equipment would only move to a car of that model. So if we were to purchase another 2017 Ford Taurus, we could move that over. But the radio console, the prisoner partition, the weapon carrier is all designed
That's
for
not-
the newer
okay,
vehicle. So it wasn't that it was damaged in the accident, it's just not compatible with the newer model.
Okay. And I don't know, just for the folks at home, do you mind explaining a little bit about why this particular vehicle, and kind of like what we talked about on the phone? Because, I mean, I didn't know.
In comparison to, let's say, the State Patrol or the Lincoln County Sheriff's Office, we have fleet vehicles. So when one person leaves it, the next one enters it. So we try to keep those vehicles standardized, so the equipment's in the same spot, they handle the same, those kind of things. Years ago, when we moved to the SUV style of vehicle, we needed more cargo room, we needed more space for electronics, things of that nature, and the bid was let to purchase the Ford. Well, now if we if we stay with that model of vehicle, then some of this equipment that you inquired about, like the prisoner cage and things of that nature, they're good for a lot longer. We can move them a time or two until Ford redesigns the SUV and we have to buy new interior equipment. So we've stuck with the SUVs just to keep the vehicles standardized for the people that use them every day, so that everything's in the same spot, they handle the same, and so we can reuse some of the equipment.
Right. That made sense to me, so thank you for telling us that.
Anyone else have any questions?
I would move to approve item 6 of the consent agenda.
Second.
Calling the question, please vote. And that item passes. Okay, thank you, everyone. Moving on to the regular agenda, item number 8, we have a presentation of the North Platte Trails Network Committee Fitness Station Plan for Centennial Park. No action will be taken on this item. It is a informational item. So, Lane and your crew there. We have some stuff on the screens. Okay. Please tell us who you are.
Thank you guys for having us. Samantha Geisler. My address is 2721 Anna Avenue.
Ann Dimmitt. My address is 4502 Heritage Drive.
Okay.
So we are here today to present to you through the North Platte Trails Network, a project that was handed down to us from the Lincoln County, gosh, my mind just went blank. Yes, the Leadership Lincoln County, thank you. And so after, if you guys are familiar with the organization, the Leadership Lincoln County, they do a yearly worth of projects and then kind of pass it along, or they can complete them. So this was a project right before COVID had hit that they had kind of passed down to the Trails Committee to kind of finish. They had actually already raised money through Great Plains Health. They were a very good contribution to the project. However, we had to structure it just a little bit different. So we kind of wanted to talk, you guys are familiar with our trails networks that we have here. Just a little bit about the trails, how they can benefit our community through bringing people into the community, bringing businesses in, things like that. I won't go over that because I know we have short time. They encourage healthy and outdoor exercises, especially encouraging the elderly as well. So what are fit trails? Fit trails are an outdoor exercise system that is installed along a trail. Typically, they're about a quarter mile to a mile apart. They can be clusters of stations, and these are workout stations, or just kind of like you see here pictured. This is a little bit more advanced than what we're going for right now, but they're just designed to promote physical fitness and training along a trail. We have over 25 miles of trail systems that run through North Platte, which is insane. So we just thought that through our high school and college and through our many gyms and professional athletes that we have here, if we could give them something extra along our trails, and maybe that could help us bring in some, good employees and businesses and things like that as well. So this is kind of our plan through Centennial Park. One of the stipulations with Great Plains Health giving us money was that they wanted to be able to kind of see it from their west wing of like the lobby, like when you're in the waiting room and stuff. So we did plan to kind of put one over by the gazebo in the park, trying to get it away from construction that may happen in the future with the new playground and stuff like that. With the new addition of the parking lot over there as well, that makes a great opportunity for something right in there, because it's very seeable by Great Plains Health employees, anybody who walks in the park, plus anybody who's playing flag football or soccer over in those facilities as well. So this is kind of a couple of proposed stations that we're working with. We are working with a local fabricator, TK Welding. He's giving us an amazing deal versus when Leadership Lincoln County was looking at this project. They were going through a big company that was wanting to get wood structures, which in Nebraska, wood structures are not really going to work. So They're going to fabricate all of our equipment for us and help us out with that. So the cost that you see here is just an estimated cost per station of kind of what we're looking at and an estimated location. If you do go to Centennial Park, there's pink flags in some of the spots. That's kind of the locations that we're looking at. Here's another one. This one actually particularly has 3 stations or 2 stations with an ab and a leg lift, and each of these stations are designed to be for the not so active and the elite. They will also have signs with instructions on, you know, what you can do at this station. Here's kind of another one. This spot's particularly my favorite just because it's larger, but it also has a really beautiful view of the river as well. And of course, I took these pictures when it was not so beautiful. Here's another location as well. This would be just right by the dog park, so it'd be perfect. You can just go throw your dogs in the fence and hop on and do that. And these are all set up about a quarter mile apart. So on top of concrete, we are looking at partnering with the Playground Project. They are putting the rubber surface on their playground. So we're actually going to partner with the same company that they're using, and our plan is while they're here doing theirs, they're going to do ours, which I believe is slated for September-ish. So this is going to be a much better surface for athletes to, you know, versus concrete or anything else. We can do wood chips, we can do gravel, we can do whatever, but if we're going to do it, I think we should do it right. So this is just kind of a cost comparison chart of what we plan to do, approximately how many yardage of concrete and stuff like that we need, and some fundraising efforts that we need to do on our part as well. We have raised, through Great Plains Health and other sponsorship and donations, we have raised almost $10,000 already, which is pretty amazing. We've already got that community support, just the little tiny advertising we've done to promote the project. So we have a lot more to do. We'd like to start breaking ground like in May-ish, but then again, it kind of depends on weather because, you know, it could be -27 next week. This is kind of an overall future look at our project. We're hoping to expand the fit trails all along down Buffalo Bill. We already have had commitments from the college and UNL Extension Office to place some down in that area as well. So that's kind of our plans. I believe if I calculated right, it should be over 7 miles of continuous trail running and fitness stations along the route, which will be very neat. That is all we had. We just wanted to share with you what our plans were, and if you had any questions or anything. I don't know if you have anything to add. Sorry, I kind of took it over there.
Anyone have any questions? Okay, well, thank you very much. We appreciate the presentation.
Thank you.
Have a good evening. Moving on to item number 9. Second reading to adopt ordinance number 4054, rezoning certain lands from an A1 transitional agricultural district to a B-2 highway commercial district located at 2420 West Walker Road. Mr. Kibben, would you read the ordinance, please?
An ordinance of the City of North Platte, Lincoln County, Nebraska, rezoning the part of Lot 1 Doctor Subdivision and part of the northwest quarter of Section 17, Township 13 North, Range 30 west of the 6th Prime Meridian, North Platte, Lincoln County, Nebraska, repealing all ordinances or parts of ordinances in conflict herewith, providing for the effective date and publication thereof.
I would move that we waive the final required reading on ordinance number 4054.
I'll set.
Okay. Do we have any discussion on this item? It would appear not. Oh, Okay,
Rob Stefka, Commercial Investment Services, 112 North Dewey. We thank you for, that was, we were going to ask that be possible to move ahead with the project. And I wanted to mention, as a thank you to the mayor and the council, the last meeting, there were some things that were very complimentary of the family and business, and it was sincerely appreciated by those folks. Thank you.
thank you, Mr. Stefka. Hearing no discussion, calling the question, please vote on item number 9. That item passes. Moving on to number 10.
All that we still need to,
Oh, I apologize. Sorry.
I'm sorry, Mayor.
I got ahead of myself. I'm sorry.
I move to adopt ordinance number 4054 to rezone certain land from an A1 transitional agricultural district to a B2 highway commercial district.
second.
Okay, now that I'm in the right place, do we have any discussion on this item? It would appear not. Calling the question, please vote. That item passes as well. Item number 9 has passed. And the mayor is now in the right place in his agenda. So, number 10. Consider adopting ordinance number 4055, conveying real estate to KSAP Inc., a Nebraska corporation, DBA Quick Stop.
Mayor Keller, would you like me to read the ordinance?
Yes, please do.
An ordinance of the City of North Platte, Lincoln County, Nebraska, authorizing the sale of the part of Lot 1 Doctor subdivision and part of the northwest corner of Section 17, Township 13 North, Range 30 of the 6th Prime Meridian, North Platte, Lincoln County, Nebraska, repealing all ordinances or parts of ordinances in conflict herewith, providing for the effective date and publication thereof.
Thank you, Mr. Kibben.
Mr. Mayor,
Yes, sir.
I move to waive the 3 required readings on ordinance number 4055, and I move to adopt ordinance number 4055, conveying real estate to KSAP Inc., a Nebraska corporation, DBA Quick Stop.
Second.
Okay, we have a motion and a second on number 10. Do we have any discussion on this matter?
Mr. Mayor?
Mr. Lucas?
I'd just like to comment that I think this has been very well publicized between the multiple actions going to the Planning Commission and whatnot. So I feel very comfortable with the waiver of readings.
Thank you. Other comment or discussion? Hearing none, calling the question, which will both waive the 3 readings and pass number 10 if it's voted through. Please vote. Okay, this item passes on the first reading. Moving on to number 11. Consider adopting ordinance number 4056, authorizing the conveyance of leasehold and option to purchase tracts 1 and 2 of Iron Eagle subdivision to CL Land LLC. Mr. Kibben, please read the ordinance.
An ordinance of the City of North Platte, Lincoln County, Nebraska, a city of the first class, authorizing a conveyance of a leasehold and option to purchase tracts 1 and 2 Iron Eagle subdivision, North Platte, Lincoln County, Nebraska, more particularly described on attached Exhibit A hereto, repealing all ordinances or parts of ordinances in conflict herewith, providing for the effective date and publication thereof.
Thank you, Mr. Kibben. Do we have a motion on this matter?
Mr. Mayor, I would move to authorize the mayor to execute the lease agreement, which includes the option to exercise the purchase of the property anytime during or at the expiration of the lease between the City of North Platte and CL Land LLC for the Iron Eagle Golf Course in North Platte, Lincoln County, Nebraska.
I was going to say, I think that's the next one. Number 11, please. Would you please withdraw that, Mr. Reeker?
I will withdraw that, Mr. Mayor, thank you.
Thank you.
Mr. Mayor,
Technically, Ed has the floor here for a second, please. You
give it to
yield?
Mr.
Okay,
Vols.
Mr. Vols, you now have the floor.
I move to waive the required 3 readings on ordinance number 4056, and I move to adopt ordinance number 4056, conveying leasehold and option to purchase real estate to CL Land LLC.
Second.
Okay, we have a motion and a second on this item. Do we have any discussion?
Mr. Mayor,
Hold on just a second, sir. Just a second. I need to recognize you. Hold on just a second, please. Mr. Reeker?
I don't know if there's anybody going to speak from the floor. It appears that there may be somebody speaking from the floor. I don't know whether they're going to speak for or against, but I think it's kind of important for us to maybe have the 3 readings with the idea that we can do like we did with the sale of the property for Quick Stop, that it could be adopted on the 2nd reading, which would therefore give the public an opportunity maybe to make some public comments. So instead of adopting it on the 1st reading, we would accept it 3 readings with the understanding that it could very well be adopted on the 2nd.
Okay. That's your discussion item, correct?
Discussion item.
Okay. Mr. Bowles, you have the floor.
I do not disagree with you, Mr. Reeker. Timing is of the essence here, and the reason I say that is we're sitting at March 2nd. If we do wait another 2 weeks, that puts us into the middle of March, and then with a 30-day period that the public can protest our decision, that puts us in the middle of April. And the primary reason I look to waive the 3 readings is so that we can possibly get some golf out there this summer. And that was my only reasoning for it. I agree 100% with you, but I know timing is critical here on this issue. So that's all I have there.
Mr. Nisley?
Mayor Kelleher, I agree with what Mr. Councilman Volz is saying. My concern really is I think there may be, I don't know if there is a consensus on this. I would suggest that we separate these motions, because I'd hate us to pass this and then turn it down, and then we have to go, it's going to cause a further delay. I would like to see a reading from the council on the waiver, and then we can approach the motion. That's a suggestion. I would ask someone to make maybe we could do withdraw the motion, do a separate one. That's my suggestion.
Okay. Would you like to consider that, Mr. Bowles?
I would withdraw my motion on that, and I would like to make another motion at this point. I move to waive the 3 required readings on ordinance number 4056.
Okay.
Second.
Okay, Mr. Lucas, you have the floor.
Yeah, just my comments on waiver reading. I can, and Mr. Reeker, I appreciate where you're at too, because I also have a lot of concerns about sometimes things moving too quickly. What I've been trying to balance on this is that it's golf season. I think there were people out trying to utilize the golf course today. And so then I gauge that, well, have we given the public adequate time? And I guess after thinking about this and kind of being on the fence with that thought, I feel like by going through the RFP process and everything we've done, I mean, everybody who's been watching our activities over the last several months does, I think, anticipate that this was coming. So after careful consideration, I think, of both of your points, which I think both are valid, I think I can be supportive of the waiver in this case, based on the fact that it's been so clearly publicized so far.
Mr. Carmen, you have the floor.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I agree with what these folks have said. We're getting right into golf season here. I think we need to move this along as quickly as possible. Thank you.
Thank you. We have any other Mr. Nestle, go ahead.
If I may, Mayor Kelleher, just remind everyone, this waiver takes 6 votes of the council members.
That
Just
is
wanna
correct,
remind
yes. In order to pass, it would require six yeses. Any other discussion?
Mr. Mayor.
Go ahead, Mr. Woods.
I'm in agreement with it. Mr. Riker. I think the citizens deserve at least one more reading. I don't believe that 2 weeks is too much of a burden.
Okay. Any other discussion before we vote on the waiver item?
Mr. Mayor?
Yes, sir. Hold on, guys. I've got a couple people in the public who'd like to say something, and I'm going to question them here as soon as you get done, Ed, so go
I
ahead.
appreciate that, and I would like to hear what these people have to say before
Okay.
we vote.
Okay.
I understand the idea of getting into the golf season, and I presume getting into the golf season is partly to accommodate the golfer and partly to accommodate the people that are wanting to lease the golf course. And I understand the urgency, but we've been dealing with this negotiation on the golf course for how many months? 7 months? 8 months? It's been a while. Okay, 5 months. I guess in light of the fact that I don't think that the city's been dragging their feet on the negotiation. And so in light of that, I guess, again, I come back to the idea, I think it's important for the public to have an opportunity to voice their concerns, whether they be plus or minus. I think it's important for us to try to retain the understanding that truly the council is working for the best interests of the community and taking into consideration the thoughts of the people that live here.
Okay, thank you. Mr. Bagasos, I know you want to speak. This gentleman right here was ahead of you, though. So, sir, if you go ahead, tell us your name and your address, please, then you're welcome to speak on this matter.
Charles McCarty, 1001 East B. Now, all I know about this golf course deal is everybody thinks it's a good deal to get rid of it. But 154 acres of ground does not have to be a golf course. I don't understand why anybody would sell 154 acres for $10,000 when one building out there costs more than $10,000, and in the future the city is going to need new fire station, new police station, new city offices. We're going to need a lot of that stuff. And we're giving away 154 acres that somebody is going to take possession of for $10,000, and they don't have to run a golf course. Now explain that to me. I wouldn't take $10,000 for my house, and it don't even take up an acre. And it cost me a lot of money to live in it. But I'm still not going to give it away because I need a place to live. I like a place to park my car. And I like being on a snow emergency route. But I don't understand why we've got to give away 154 acres when it's going to be not going to be a golf course anyway, and we're going to sell it for $10,000. You had a commercial investment guy here. He just left the room, we sold just probably not even 2 acres out on Buffalo Bill for $60,000. And you want to sell 154 acres for $10,000. We just had some people come in about trails. We can use that for trails. There's a million things to use that for. Just because one did not work that we voted on and approved 20-some years ago, when golfing was at its peak. People were building golf courses all over the United States. And I know this for a fact because I was hauling machinery to places in Denver, Colorado Springs. It went to Dallas, Texas, Omaha, Nebraska, Kearney. That was at a peak you could not get in North Platte, Nebraska, a decent tee time because we did not have enough golf courses. Things changed, and I understand that. But you can't convince me to give away 154 acres to anybody for $10,000. And they do not have to keep it as a golf course. Now, we're talking about golf courses here, except to Chief Industries. We're going to give it to them for $10,000, and in 6 months or whatever they decide they can't make any money, or they can make more money doing something else. They've got 154 acres of prime ground for $10,000. Now, if you want a bid on that, I'll give you $11,000 and I'll give you a check tonight.
Okay, thank you, sir. We appreciate your comments. Mr. Backenstos?
Jim Backenstos, 2109 Iron Eagle Court. Hi, everybody. It's good to see you. First and foremost, I want to thank Matt Kidman for his hard work on his contract. And I know Chuck really well, and I understand where he's coming from, but the economic development and the economic impact in the future because of this move is going to be huge for North Platte. But that's not why I'm here. I'm here to talk about the 3 readings. I want to talk to the fact that we add to your concerns. We cannot push this back any farther. We need to move forward. And I agree with Ty. I think the word's been out there good enough. And like you said, we've been negotiating for 5 months. I don't think having another reading's going to make any difference. We want to dissolve this golf course from the city books. We're there. It's a good thing for what's going to happen down the road. But to get a golf course starting, it's a lot more than you think. Chief and the company they're joining hands with, your new partners, has to hire a superintendent. They haven't even been able to look for that yet. They have to look over all the leased equipment that they're taking over. The equipment has to be timed, sharpened, go through your pre-maintenance inspections, which takes about a month. You got to hire a crew. You got to hire a manager for the clubhouse. None of this is going to take, it's going to take 6, 8 weeks. And if we end up doing 3 readings, it concerns me to the fact we're going to be into May or June. And I'm concerned about the membership pack we have out there now is going to leave. Some of them will leave. Matter of fact, you know, everybody knows I live out there. It's my golf course. But people are coming to my doors on what's going on. We need to make decisions. Some people are already bailing, going to, I mean, they're still going to pay their taxes here, which is great. But if we don't allow your new partnership with Chief to get started, I'm really concerned about what could happen for this first year of operations. And believe it or not, I just got a text 2 minutes ago from the North Platte High School, somebody that's involved with the North Platte Golf. They still want to be able to practice and play at Iron Eagle Golf Course. And if we delay this any farther, they're not going to have a home to practice for their upcoming season. And I don't even think I've touched all the bases of what it's going to take to get this golf course, but I'm concerned about losing citizens in North Platte that like to call that their home and move on to different places. And, you know, and we need to look at Chief. What they're planning on doing in this community is huge. And if we can move forward now, they can get started and hopefully we can salvage this year of golf. So I appreciate it. I hope that you will vote to waive the 3 readings. Thank you very much.
Thanks, Jim. Mr. Carmen, go ahead.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I think Mr. Backenstoe is exactly right. And he has experience with this golf course and certainly plenty of it. As I understand, he was an avid golfer. I don't know if he still is or not, but he's getting older like the rest of us, I guess. I'd like to say something to speak to I can't remember the gentleman's name who first spoke to this. It may be suggested here during this discussion at some point that we should put this up on an auction because the gentleman's absolutely right. That ground itself is worth more than it's likely to fetch just as farm ground. However, to suggest that we ought to auction it off at this point, I think we've done that. We've effectively done that by putting out this request for proposals, and the net result of that is that the same as it would be if we put it up for auction. And so I also suggest that if anyone's interested in it and wanted to give $11,000 for it, he could have submitted a proposal like the other gentleman did, but I didn't see that come forth. So I think we need to move this. I think we need to move it right away. Get it going. Time's wasting here, and there's golfers function at the bit. And we've discussed this until I think we're all getting weary of it. It's time to move forward with this. And as Mr. Backenstoe said, the potential for good things to happen out there are the biggest part of this to me. It's not the dollars that we get for this golf course. That to me at this point is inconsequential. If we were likely to get a bunch of money for this, it would have already appeared. We would have had an offer that said so. So I think we need to move this, and I think we need to move it quickly. Thank you.
Mr. Mayor.
Mr. Lucas, you have the floor.
This may pertain less to the 3 readings and more to the issue, but I wanted to say that I think Mr. McCarty is asking the right question of us. And it's one I've been thinking about for 5 or 6 months. But it is the right question and the right point that you're making. And so I just want to share my thoughts on it because I've looked at this extensively. There's 154 acres there, of which the appraisal work that was done, they focus on what's the highest and best use of the property. And that's usually the first step they take in an appraisal because that dictates the highest value, which then warrants the appraised value. Well, there's 18 acres that's out of the floodplain that could be used for residential. And there's roughly 128 acres of accretion ground. Well, the problem with the accretion ground is it's in the city limits, and it's probably not a very natural place to take out of the city limits, so you can't shoot turkeys and geese and ducks on that accretion ground. So that accretion ground has a very low net usable value because it's in the city limits and it's accretion ground. Secondary, and so then you look at the 18 acres, and then I agree that the buildings, I think the the cart building and the clubhouse and the acreage with those, which was, I think, about 7 acres, is estimated at somewhere around a $350,000 value. So I've been thinking about this constantly, and I guess the way I feel is we have a collaboration where I think the golfers in that area that I've talked to are generally in favor of this, because there's a chance that CL Land is going to maintain this as a golf course or some type of recreational facility as an amenity to their development. Well, we've got well north of $10 million put in this. I mean, I've tried to add up how much we have into this as a city, and I think I stopped at about 13 or 14 million. Maybe Don could tell us, but we have a lot of money invested in this golf course as a community. And so in my mind, what we're doing is we're taking a little bit of a bet. I'm in favor of giving up a little. I mean, we could maybe auction off that facility, but I agree with Mr. Carmen. There was an opportunity for those proposals, but I guess I think a lease is as good as the party you're leasing to, and I think we have the right party who can give our community back some value by having an enhanced development with this. And so I think your question's a great question, but after studying it for several months, I'm in favor of this proposal, because I think our community will ultimately recognize a little bit of return on the more than $10 million we've spent on it to date. Thank you.
Ms. Tryon, you have the floor.
Thank you. I did speak to one of the members of the golf club out there, and I suggested to him that, you know, the members just pool their money and buy the course. But that didn't happen. I just want to let you know that I did try and help the golfers out and let the members be the owners of that course. And I agree 100% with what Ty said.
Thank you. Mr. Carmen?
You know, I've been in this discussion, thank you, Mr. Mayor, I've been in this discussion for 10 years so far. And it looks to me like if we go ahead and approve this proposal, there's a good chance that we can have a viable golf entity out there still. Because I haven't spoken to this gentleman who represents the firm, but it seems like to me he might be a pretty good businessman. And I got a feeling that he would have probably a better chance at making golf happen out there in a viable way. Because, for example, I can't speak for him, but I can say that I'd be very surprised if he kept golf staff on board November, December, January, and February, and that's what we've done. This is absurd. Only government could perpetuate something like this. Only government can screw it up this bad. Private enterprise would have walked away from that a long time ago. I think there's a chance we can still play golf out there, and I hope there is. I hope we do. And I think this guy can probably make it happen. So that's my comment. Thank you.
Thank you. Why not?
I've been here. Just to reiterate, you know, what Jim was just saying is it's not just about the golf. You know, I live out there, so I have an investment. It's about what's going to come because of it. By keeping that golf course and hopefully have a plus 55 community, be able to and grow the tax base huge. So it's not just about the golf course. I just wanted to bring that up.
Thank you, Mr. Backensdose.
Mr. Mayor?
Mr. Reeker.
Thank you. I listened to what you folks said, and I want you to know I'm in favor of selling the golf course. I think we've been battling this thing for a long time, and I understand the comment about selling 154 acres for $10,000, but I've been in marketing all my life, and I figured out that the value of what I'm selling is only worth what somebody's willing to pay me for it. And so I think that tells us a little bit about the value of the golf course. I want to get rid of the golf course. I think it's important to get rid of the golf course. I think, Ty, you were talking about north of $10 million. I think it may be a little south of $20 million. I don't know how far south. But I appreciate your comments, Jim, back in Stos about, other things that need to be considered as far as getting the course going. I guess that's all I have to say, Mayor.
Mr. Mayor,
Mr. Woods, you have the floor.
I'd just like to say that Chief is a very knowledgeable and professional company, and it's taken a long time to negotiate this lease. They know how to read a calendar. They know the time frames. It's like they put it off on us that now we have to do it because there's just no time. And that just bothers me a lot, because they could have sped up the negotiations. They could have worked harder. I'm sure that you guys were working your hardest to get this done because we all want it done. So then to tell us we've got to act right now, I find it slightly offensive. I don't think 2 more weeks is going to do a lot of damage.
We have another person from the floor.
Mr. Mayor, Tanner Patera, 3821 Sugarberry Court. Ladies and gentlemen, it's obvious that we all agree that the golf course has been an adventure that we should have ended a long time ago, like you said, Mr. Riker. I am fully in support of moving forward. I agree, $10,000 seems like we're giving it away, but there was a bid process. Nobody bid. What they're willing to do with this land will increase our tax rolls to an amount we don't really know what it's going to be. It could be 10 million, 20 million. It could be 50 million from the financial impact if we get a community built here in North Platte. So, not doing this is not the best means of moving forward for the city. And regarding to the 3 readings and waiving that, I am completely on board. I understand Jim's comments too, and if we want this golf course to be viable, potentially for the new lease holder, we need to move forward. I'm not a member at Iron Eagle. I'm a member at another golf course here in town, and if we lose this golf course, all the other golf courses are going to get a little busier, and to be a selfish golfer, we like the fact that we can walk on and golf whenever we want. So, but it's super important for us to move forward. This has been an issue since I can remember when it was built when I was in high school. So I appreciate everybody's support moving it forward. And moving forward with 3 readings so the golf course has a chance to break even this year. Obviously, if the golf course would be breaking even, we wouldn't be having this conversation. We've lost more money a year than golf courses in this town have for an operating budget. So, just keep that in mind. So thank you for your time.
Thank you for reminding us how old we all are. Mr. Carmen.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I just wanted to say that I'm just elated that we're permitted to sit here and even discuss this, because until recently, we weren't permitted to discuss it because we couldn't get it on the agenda. So thank you for that.
Mr. Mayor?
Mr. Reeker, we do have to vote at some point this evening, but please say your comment.
I'm just curious if there's anyone here representing the company that wants to purchase the golf course.
We do have a representative. Would you like to ask him a question?
I would.
Okay, please come forward.
Roger Bullington, 3935 Westgate Road, Grand Island, Nebraska, 68803.
Thank you, Roger. Go ahead.
Thank you, Roger. If we delay this vote for 2 weeks, how's that going to impact you in operating the golf course?
Well, one thing that we've been trying to do is kind of set up some contingencies if we could, and trying to hire people, and we just get further along into the golf season. And so it's gonna hinder us from trying to make deals with some of the greenskeepers or the operators and that sort. And so, we would appreciate a vote to move this forward all this evening. There's a lot of things that we're gonna have to do, getting liquor license, getting the staff, getting the equipment, up to speed. And if you guys recall, if everybody recalls, when Chief saw the opportunity, everything to do in North Platte, it wasn't about a golf course. It was about a senior living facility. And the fact that it came up, we really didn't want to have to take it over, but no one else stepped up to do it. And so we kind of feel that we're taking a liability off your hands, and we're going to try and make it into the bigger picture of what we're doing. Because with what we're doing, if it would have been just sold to just anybody, we wouldn't have known who the neighbors were. We didn't know what they were going to do. If it would be a trailer park or, gone to seed or that sort. When we're trying to sell a high-end senior living facility, we got to know what's going to be around it and how we're going to put that in as an amenity to what we're trying to do. And if it wasn't for this COVID deal, I feel confident that we had already been started out there. And so anyway, I'm asking that if you'd move it forward this evening, so then that way we can get it going. One thing that kills development projects is deal fatigue. And everybody knows, but because of this COVID and everything else, there's always deal fatigue in delaying these things here. So I would appreciate so that we can get going and keep moving forward. And thank you, Mr. Carmen, for the kind words.
Thank you, Mr.
Mr. Bullington.
Okay, one more time, and then we're voting.
Okay. I'm not here for or against the golf course. I'm here about giving away 154 acres for $10,000 and have it not wind up being a golf course. So if you misunderstood me, that I'm against the golf course, I'm not. I'm here to get a better value out of property.
Thank you, sir. Okay. I'm going to jump in here and call the question.
Mr. Mayor, what are we voting on?
We are voting, I think that's a good question, and I should probably restate that. So, according to my notes over here, we are voting on whether or not to waive the 3 readings of item number 12 on the agenda, which is item 11, excuse me, thank you, Mr. Nisley, almost got myself in trouble there. Okay, so we're clear to all those in the audience, if this item passes, then this would be the only reading of number 11, which is the ordinance to convey the leasehold over to CL Land. Okay, if it does not pass, then we would take up the issue again at our next meeting in 2 weeks. That is the question. Please vote. The item passes. This is the only reading on this item. Okay, now, if someone would like to make another motion regarding this ordinance, that would be helpful.
I move to adopt ordinance number 4056, conveying leasehold and option to purchase real estate to CL Land LLC.
Second.
Was that you, Ed?
Second,
Okay.
yes.
Thank you. Okay, we have a motion and a second. Do we have any discussion on this item?
Mr. Mayor?
Mr. Reeker?
I think this is, I don't know if I want to say a historic time in our town, but I think it's a pretty good time in our town that we are, I think this will go a long ways to bring our community back together as one community. This golf course has divided us for about as long as the people have been playing golf out there. And I'm glad that this sore is going to be healed. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Reeker. Mr. Lucas.
Maybe on the same note as those of us who've been talking about this for a while, I'd like to publicly thank Mr. Kibben, Mayor Kelleher, but also Mr. Hawks and former Mayor Livingston, because this truly has been a collaboration that has been worked on. Same as Mr. Carmen, I've had 2 years of frustration wanting to deal with this issue. But I also recognize that our former administration and mayor played a significant role in this collaboration. And a collaboration is what this has been.
Thank you. Oh my gosh, we have applause. Might be a first. Thank you back there. We appreciate that. Just since we're thanking people, I'd also like to thank our partners in Chief Industries who are definitely,
I'd just like to play the devil's advocate for a second. I'll say right up front, I'd like to see the golf course, as much as any of you. I've been against it since I voted against it before it even became a golf course. And we all know that incentives are part of business now. Nothing gets built hardly without incentives. And we have a really nice golf course out there. And Chief wants to rent it, and they're an experienced company. They've run golf courses before, and I think they'll do a very good job of it. I think they'll make a profit on it. They have no bank loan. They have a lease of $10 a year. That makes it a lot easier to turn a profit. Should be good for them, after 2 years, if they buy it for the $10,000 or before. It's going to really help incentivize their sales, because the golfers will pay a premium for those homes because they're right next to the golf course. They should sell for more, and they should sell faster. So for Chief, yes, this is great. We're partners. Yeah, it feels kind of like a redheaded stepchild. It just seems like, I know incentives are necessary, but how much do we have to give? It just feels a little unfair. And that's my devil's advocate position.
okay, thank you, Mr. Woods.
Mr. Mayor.
Mr. Lucas.
Very quickly. Mark, with all due respect, the city was in that position after the bonds were paid, and we still lost $200,000. And the lots in that area that were, if those same lots were in town, they've been selling for $25,000 to $32,000, and those lots out there have sold for $14,000 to $21,000, I think, roughly. So they've sold at a discount to the lots that the same size of lot would have sold in western North Platte. And so I think we have to be careful we don't forget who's doing who a favor in this situation, with all due respect, because those lots out there have been selling at a discount to normal lots in the city, and we've lost a significant amount of money with no lease payment and no that. And so I appreciate your devil's advocate point, but I think the facts are that those lots have been selling at a discount out there. And so I hope with this, that we see getting some certainty to that area, which hopefully will add, a lot of enthusiasm for investment.
Mm-hmm. I have nothing against Chief Industries. It'll be a boon to have the development, not against that.
Calling the question. Please vote. This item passes. Can I go to number 12 now, Matt? Okay, thanks. Just checking. Gonna make sure you keep me in line over here. Okay. Thank you, everyone. Appreciate everyone's comments and enthusiasm on the subject. Moving on to number 12. Item, which is authorize the mayor to execute the lease agreement between the City of North Platte and CL Land LLC for the Iron Eagle Golf Course in North Platte, Lincoln County, Nebraska.
move to authorize the mayor to execute the lease agreement between the City of North Platte and CL Land LLC for the Iron Eagle Golf Course in North Platte, Lincoln County, Nebraska.
Withdraw it and do it again.
Yeah. Mr. Mayor, I'd like to withdraw my motion.
You did, but you were a little early there, Ed, so is Mr., yeah. Go ahead, Mr. Vols.
The change, I didn't get that added into my pubs.
Okay.
I move to authorize the mayor to execute the lease agreement, which includes the option to exercise the purchase of the property anytime during or at the expiration of the lease between the City of North Platte and CL Land LLC for the Iron Eagle Golf Course in North Platte, Lincoln County, Nebraska.
Second.
We have a motion and a second on item number 12. Do we have any discussion on this item? Hearing none, calling the question on number 12. That item passes. Number 13. Thank you, everyone. Number 13, second reading to adopt ordinance number 4053, amending the City of North Platte Code of Ordinances, Chapter 156, zoning section 156.353, relating to design, materials, and installation standards for landscaping. Mr. Kibben, please read the ordinance.
An ordinance of the City of North Platte, Lincoln County, Nebraska, amending Chapter 156, zoning section 156.353 relating to design, materials, and installation standards for landscaping, repealing all ordinances or parts of ordinances in conflict herewith, providing for the effective date and publication thereof in pamphlet form.
Thank you, Mr. Kibben. Do we have a motion on this item?
I move to adopt ordinance number 4053, an amendment to the City of North Platte Code of Ordinances, Chapter 156, zoning section 156.353, relating to design, materials, and installation standards for landscaping on second reading.
Second.
Okay, we have a motion and we have a second. Do we have any discussion on this item? Not seeing any. Calling the question, please vote on item number 13. That item passes. Moving on to number 14. Authorize the mayor to execute the purchase agreement from Twin Valley Communications for replacement of radios for the fire department.
Mr. Mayor,
Mr. Kibben.
if we could revise Twin Valley Communications to Platte Valley Communications.
Ah, we have an error. Okay. So revised. Platte Valley, not Twin Valley Communications. So if anyone's going to make a motion, please make sure you state that correctly. We have the chief here. If anyone has any questions on this subject, I'm sure he'd be willing to answer them once we have a motion.
Mayor Kelleher, I'll move to authorize the mayor to execute purchase agreement from Platte Valley Communications for replacement of fire department radios.
Second.
We have a motion and we have a second. Do we have any discussion on this issue tonight? Ms. Tryon, go for it.
Thank you.
Chief, you might as well come forward.
He just knows I like talking to him, doesn't he? I don't know. I guess I just had a couple of questions. I don't know anything about this communication that we have to vote on, to be real honest with you. But I did have a question on, it's my understanding that the fire department has to do this to upgrade the communication so you can communicate with the police departments, 911 center, is that correct?
Mayor Kelleher, Councilwoman Tryon, this upgrade is in fact to allow us to communicate with not only the police department, but with our own people within the city, station to station, one ambulance to another. We currently are operating with over 20-year-old technology. Our 911 center has had numerous upgrades, and we're just not compatible. There are days that we can't hear what traffic is just blocks away from our 911 center because of that technology.
Thank you. Now I have another one. Can I keep going?
Go for it.
Okay. So we're talking about the North Platte City Fire Department and then the North Platte Rural Fire Department. So how do the rural departments in these other cities, villages in our county, how are they communicating?
Well, Mayor Kelleher, Councilwoman Tryon, that varies from fire district to fire district, quite frankly. Depending upon where you're at, what their funding is, a lot of them are still operating on old technology, and they're able to do so because they're all operating on the old technology, so they can communicate with one another. We are far enough advanced that it is difficult for us if we go out, we've got mutual aid agreements with 13 rural fire districts around us. They're operating on one radio frequency. When we get on scene, we're operating on something completely different and makes communications almost impossible. A lot of times it's a matter of trying to put somebody, one of our portable radios or handheld radios in one of their trucks so that they can talk to us. We rely on our emergency manager on big scenes to be that go-between for us. It just delays our ability to communicate in those instances where time is of the essence.
So you're kind of working together so these other rural fire departments don't have to have the burden of updating their communication systems?
We are.
basically?
By upgrading with the radios that we're recommending, we are going to have the ability to communicate with them on, and I don't want to get into frequencies, I don't know anything about them. But most of them are operating on a UHF frequency. Our law enforcement are on digital. So this will allow us the option both ways and clear up a lot of that's going on out there right now, inability to communicate. And I want to be sure to say that, you know, I'm not going to beleaguer this thing with him. You've got the letter I provided for Mr. Kibben and the mayor. This has been ongoing for years. And as I said, I think I've done my due diligence. Our assistant chief, and I say ours because he's not mine, he's here serving you, he's serving our citizens of our community and the surrounding area. Our chief, a number of our firefighters that are out there every day, did field testing to make sure that these radios that we're suggesting will benefit us in every way, shape, and form. And we believe that we have found that solution.
Okay, that was another question I had, if there was any other providers contacted to maybe
We did not. Our 911 center has, as far as I know, historically has always been Motorola. And we want to be sure that the equipment we get is going to be completely compatible with what we have in place now, so it will serve us well into the future without having to make additions or.
Just one more comment, okay? It says.
You have the floor. We
can
do
go
want
all
to go to
night?
bed at some point tonight.
Okay. It says in your letter, which your letter was very well written, I thought, the North Platte Rural Fire Board also has a project underway to purchase 2 new grass trucks. So is there an option of buying used rather than that much, $500,000?
Well, I'm sure there is, but the rural fire district is completely separate in terms of their financing and their funding. They choose to purchase new equipment. Their budget, if you will, comes from valuations within the county and the fire district, rural fire district. They don't purchase any equipment using city funds.
Okay, well, yeah, I was kind of wondering why that was in here. Anyway.
Yeah. So this is a great partnership that we've had for years and years, and it continues to get better. They invest a lot of money to make sure that our folks are provided with the very best equipment to go out and do what they do. So we appreciate that partnership.
I'm finished,
You're
thank
done.
you.
Okay, you don't, you can keep going if you want.
Well, I did have
I-
one other comment, but
I-
I'll let that one go.
Okay, Mr. Nisley, you have the floor.
If I could just briefly, Chief Thompson, it looks like that rural fire departments are going to contribute to this project to the tune of about $97,000. Is that correct?
Mayor Kelleher, Councilman Nisley, that is correct. And when we say rural, it is North Platte Rural Fire District alone that is going to contribute that amount of money. It's not from any other districts. It is our Rural Fire Board that has agreed to do this.
Mr. Lucas?
Chief Thompson, I just want to make sure I understand kind of the short history, and I think I remember it, but I want to make sure. So 2 years ago during the budget, we all discussed the definite need for this upgrade. And then I think we targeted 1 to 2 years, and then last year we did big belt tightening, which at that point, I think this was pulled out. And I also recall that we opted to maybe prioritize some personal protective equipment at that point in time. And now we've got an opportunity where we're not gonna have to pay for all of it. And so this is, if this wouldn't have occurred with the CARES Act money, we were dealing with this probably in the next budget session anyway, is that correct? Or soon after?
Mayor Kelleher, Councilman Lucas, I believe that's 100% accurate. We have, and we can philosophically and theoretically agree and disagree about using federal funds and grant monies. But the fact of the matter is, we were able to obtain these CARES Act funds, which it's been a gift to us in terms of what that means for us and the burden it takes off of this council and us having to have some real difficult decisions or discussions in the future on budget when we know this we can't put this aside any longer. We're talking about people's lives, and for me, that's not an arguable point. So indeed, this is an opportunity that doesn't come along often.
I appreciate you guys being on top of this. Thank you.
Thank you.
Ms. Tryon, you have the floor.
This question probably isn't so much to you, but I didn't talk about the COVID-19 money. I guess my question is, can this new communication equipment be in their budget somehow, so we're not really using the CARES money? I would guess I'd rather see it invested, and I'm just throwing that out there.
Go ahead, Matt. Oh, Don?
Mayor Keller, Councilwoman Tryon. So it's the amount of the dollar figure that, from my perspective, this truly is what the state's intent was when they earmarked the $1.9 million to the police and fire departments. And within the current year's budget, there isn't this level of funding available to secure the radios. So it would be, as Councilman Lucas stated, it would be a discussion that would occur this fall.
Budget time. Okay, thank you.
Seeing no further discussion, calling the question on item number 14. Please vote. This item passes. Number 15, approve claims.
Mr. Mayor, I move that we approve the claim.
Second.
Not sure who won, but I'm giving it to Ty. Okay, we have a motion and we have a second. Any discussion on the claims? Does not appear so. Calling the question, please vote. The claims are paid. Okay, we've arrived at the last section of the meeting. This is the public agenda request. I know we have at least a couple people out there who are interested in requesting a future agenda item. So I will read this little section here. We respect our city employees and request that any complaints or criticisms of employees not be aired in a public meeting. Concerns about employees should be brought to the attention of the city administrator or mayor. Individuals in violation will be declared out of order and asked to leave. Okay, if anyone would like to approach and request an item for future agenda, you're welcome to do so by coming up. Sir, please come to the microphone, state your name and your address, please.
Good afternoon, Mayor. My name is Rebelio Ramos. I live in 915 West 8th Street, North Platte, Nebraska, here in North Platte.
Okay.
I've been living on that residential area for almost 20 years. My neighbor is an NHA on my left side, and on my right side is a chapel, a Spanish chapel, which both, I think, by your city, North Platte, Nebraska, which installing right now a 3.5 kilovolt substation in Augusta Street. Now,
Bless you, Mr. Reeker.
Thank you.
Sorry, Mr. Ramos, please continue.
Now, we never been informed this. The only thing that I noticed is they are knocking down the chapel. So I approached the driver and the operator. The driver asked me that you are only installing a house.
Okay, Mr. Ramos, I appreciate the story.
Okay.
In order to comply with
why
meeting
I-
laws, we
I
just
want-
need you to state your
okay,
reason.
I
so.
just want you to put this agenda, sir, to make sure that you are installing more than 20 feet distance from my residence, because your superintendent told me that the distance of your substation to my property is only 20 distance away. And that is really dangerous. I got a lot of children playing on that property.
Okay,
Whatever happened, Mayor, you're gonna answer this.
okay. Thank you, Mr. Ramos. We will
Thank you,
put
sir.
this, and we will let you know what we determine. Thank you for coming. Do we have anyone else who'd like to request a future agenda item? If so, please come up to the microphone. It would appear not.
Mr. Mayor.
Yes, sir. You have the floor, Mr. Reeker.
Thank you. I move that we adjourn.
Okay. I believe we have a motion and a second. Oh, excuse me. Wait a minute.
Already put my voting machine away.
Bulldogs are gonna be on the radio tonight playing at state, so make sure you don't miss it.
Oh, okay. Okay. Everyone vote, please, so we can be technically correct here. Thank you, everyone, for attending. And I'm assuming, we're adjourned. Thank you, everyone.